future, other people in the area will probably want the same thing. So I don't know if from my, of course nobody knows where I live. Well, some people know where I live, but from my home to the Friends for Animals is probably a mile. And I enjoy their company quite often, the dogs barking. And I don't know tell me, what is a indoor kennel and how is it built?
An indoor kennel is a completely insulated building. It is climate controlled. Like I said, they have individual suites and rooms that they stay in. There's no chain link inside. We would have all glass doors. And, you know, the insulation just for the climate control is great for
Noise
sound
reduction
barrier.
for dogs barking?
Yes.
Yeah, Friends for Animals built like a house too.
Well, I think it's more concrete. You know, it's more concrete and block. The little building that I have, you know, a few suites in, it's small. It's 50 foot from my house, and when I'm inside my house, if a dog's barking, I can barely hear it, and that's 50 foot.
I wish we had an animal control officer here tonight and ask them how many often they respond to a barking dog in the county.
Probably every
They
day.
probably should give us a good answer there and get a feel for actually
Every day.
what a nuisance is to the sheriff's department having to respond to such things as that. And I'm sure the sheriff's office got a hell of a lot more to do than respond to a barking dog. But I bet he has quite a few of those. But we need to be careful how we where we authorize these facilities to be placed. And this is RMU?
R3.
That tells me his residents are nearby. So that's what we're talking about. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jack. I want to make one observation. We've never written an ordinance that pleased everyone, and I commend staff for what we've done on this to try to get it as close as we can. So I just think common sense, you know, applies here too, and I understand the comments from everyone. Is there any more discussion on the matter? Any more questions?
I have one more comment, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Mr. Planning Director.
By going through the conditional use approval, one of the conditions can be that if it's not maintained and the dog barking is a nuisance and a constant problem, that can be revoked.
Heather, have you ever been cited by the Sheriff's Department for any noise ordinance violations or anything?
No.
Ever gone to court for this? Okay.
I am very particular about when my dogs go out. You know, even my personal dogs, I have a Jack Russell, and he will never shut up. But I try to make sure that, you know, when he goes out to do his business, that I keep him quiet, especially after about 9 o'clock at night. I really try to make sure I consider my neighbors for that.
Scott, I'm going to ask you a professional question, your
Yes, sir.
professional opinion.
Sure.
With the ordinance, if it does passes, how many, everybody's going to go open up a kennel because we've loosened some restrictions?
I don't believe so. What we actually did was put in standards where we had no standards.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, anything else? All right, I'm going to accept it, and this will be a two-part motion, and I will accept both motions at one time if anybody is desirous of making a motion with what you've heard and with, if you're going to make a motion with any changes.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, I would make that motion to adopt an ordinance amending the Burke County zoning ordinance as it relates to ZTA 21306 with the changes, and I don't know the wording, but that Scott used to change it to 100 feet for an indoor kennel, I guess. And with the possibility, if we do have barking dogs, that can be revoked or whatever. And then you want the second part?
Yes, sir.
A motion to adopt a zoning statement of consistency.
Okay, Madam Clerk, you've heard the motions. Did you did you get the motion as Scott said it?
I just want to clarify that you were talking about indoor runs with 100 feet and outdoor runs 150 feet?
There's
Or-
indoor kennels without outdoor runs.
Right, that's what.
A play area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Indoor kennels with outdoor runs, and they would have two different ones. And we would do that at time of application.
And that will be your, the motion's here. That will be your motion?
I got it.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Go ahead, Maynard.
With his motion, both setbacks come to 100 foot, is that correct?
I'm sorry, sir?
With Wayne's motion, setback on both things are 100 foot, both the in and out.
100 foot. We're talking about in the RMU district now.
Yep.
I mean, at the RMU and in the R3 district, which are residential districts, they would be, one would be 100 and one would be 150. And the others, the indoor kennels would be 100 in all the other districts.
All right, we've heard the motions. Madam Clerk, you have the motion as it was. All, the motion by Wayne. All in favor of Wayne's motion, raise your right hand. All opposed? That would be 3 to 2. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen, for hearing us tonight.
All right, that will move us into our informal public comments. Madam Clerk, has anybody signed up tonight?
Yes, sir, we have 3 citizens that have submitted a card. The first person I would call is Edith Stitt.
Mr. Chairman, could I just make one comment?
Yes, sir.
Because this is an ongoing thing that's been going on for 4 or 5 years, and we haven't been able to solve this problem at this point yet, I would ask if possible that the people, if they need a couple minutes more to speak on this issue. This has been an ongoing thing for 4 or 5 minutes, and I think according to our bylaws, if a commissioner asks for that and we agree to that, that's fine, but sometimes I don't think they can get their thoughts in 3 minutes.
I will certainly give anyone the opportunity to go past 3 if they've not made their point, if that's okay with you. Okay, Edith?
I'm not the biggest public speaker. Got my reading here. I'd like to thank each of you for addressing your constituents' issues so thoroughly. Example just left. Thank you for joining most other North Carolina counties in collecting real estate tax debt prior to recording the deeds. Discovering that there were entities that recorded a mountain's worth of land transfers without paying so much as a dime in the 6 figures of back taxes owed was shocking and absurd. Thank you for investigating an unfair and imbalanced situation that alarmed a group of our tax-paying citizens. Thanks so much for educating yourselves and others in complicated processes, procedures, and mind-numbing state statutes. Thank you for working toward a solution that benefits all its county citizens. In the last 6 months, I've enjoyed learning, watching, and listening to the current county issues at your meetings, the tough and the fluff. You have great talent with both. I'm impressed with your genuine involvement, how you invest yourselves into the interests of the community and well-run government. Real estate taxes are indeed the burden of property owners, but the system is designed to reasonably distribute these costs among a variety of variables. The system best works when all the real property owners pay their taxes in the time given, but we know how practical that is not always. When people in business opt out by gaming an honor system of bygone years, the entire tax base suffers. While I'm not saying the decision to raise taxes over a year ago would have been unavoidable had every property owner in Burke paid timely, I'm saying that the burden might not have been so heavy on those that do. All one needs to do is click on the 2013 lien advertisement on the Burke County Tax website, burkenctax.com, to identify clear and specific problems, some of which have festered for years. As the years of uncollected taxes go by, the tried and true remedy becomes increasingly impractical. I hope for resolution, and I'm prepared to get involved in on this. Burke County needs a stop sign to those running land rackets, and it's a topic that needs work because there's so little oversight from any governing entity. But I thank you for beginning the process. Ensuring back taxes get paid was like erecting a giant detour sign that removes Burke County from just being a mark for easy pickings. We know that those next land transfers will yield the back taxes, and that's awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, Edith.
Next, we have David Stitt.
David?
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you and to talk to the citizens of Burke County. So the rule of law is one of our cornerstones of civilization. And not only does the United States establish the laws through a process, but we guarantee equal application of those laws, at least in theory. In the real world, it doesn't always turn out that way. Organizations and institutions are overloaded and lack sufficient resources to ensure enforcement. Certain individuals have been able to use this to their advantage, much to the disadvantage of the many. Recently, a Burke County citizen gave me another way to view my situation. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially what he said, the world is full of sheep, sheepdogs, and wolves. Which are you? Well, that got me thinking. I thought I'd been a sheepdog looking out for the other sheep in my community. Well, I'm wrong. Sheepdogs have authority. They have teeth. They can actually fight the wolves. I'm just a sheep, but I'm not a quiet sheep. I can bleat. And I did. I called out to the sheepdog sitting here, and I said, we're getting flocked. You know, there's a wolf in our fold. I appealed to the sheepdogs of the county, and I got action. Thank you for recognizing ways to improve our county systems in order to protect us sheep. Thank you for agreeing to the principle that no one is above the law. And thank you for helping to take steps necessary to ensure that this wolf has no more free meals in this county. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Next, we have Prudy Green.
Ms. Pruitt, come on up.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Prudence Green. I live at 1285 Mountain Glen Circle. My husband and I have raised 2 sons in the county. We've been employed in Burke County for 35 years, and we're now retired. This is our home. But our retirement has been greatly disturbed, not only by a firing range in our neighborhood, but by 3 other elements, and I'll go into those quickly. First, the neglect of the county zoning board from enforcing its own ordinances. We live in an R1, and bumped up against us is an R2 zoned area, and the firing range's presence should have never been allowed. The second thing, aside from all the shooting that has disturbed us, are the promises and then the retractions by people we've been communicating with on this very issue. We were told to gather material, videos of the traffic in and out, pictures, record detailed shooting occurrences, gather audio evidence, and then the county could review it and hopefully come to a conclusion to bring suit against the individual in our neighborhood who runs the shooting range. Well, we waited and we waited and we waited. All right, so while we were waiting, our attorney, Sam Akoff, spoke with the county attorney to verify all the evidence we had gathered, and finally the suit was served. We were told that we will probably go before a judge. Then, oh no, there's going to be mediation. Okay, then we were told, but it's going to take time because the county's going through the budget process and they're dealing with the Drexel rec issue. We understood that. Those things took priority. Okay, so we waited again. October of 2013, oops, no, not mediation this time. We're going into discovery. Okay. It must happen, okay? Then we're told there would be a 30 to 90 days that discovery would occur. All right, I'm not an attorney. Okay, that's fine. Everybody has to be on the same page. I understand that. So then February 1st, no, I'm sorry. Then we were told that the mediation that was spoken of in 2013 would definitely happen in January 2014. I wasn't holding my breath. Okay, February 1st came. Nothing has happened. So then we contacted the county attorney, one of our neighbors did, and he said, okay, it's going to be 30 days from now. The mediation will happen. Well, today is March 18th. The 30 days have passed. The attorney has now said, after being contacted yesterday, that the firing range issue at Mountain Glen is now in discovery. Again. So, we don't like the shooting. We don't like the fact that the zoning board didn't do its job, and we wouldn't even be here tonight if they had. The promises and the retractions and the this and the that. And the other thing you don't have jurisdiction over, but just so you know, the neighborhood has tried to go every avenue we could. The Burke County Sheriff and the ATF refused to deal with the fact that the individual that owns the shooting range is a convicted felon, and to quote, he is forbidden to purchase, own, possess, or have in his custody, care, or control any firearm or any weapon. So the firing range that we're dealing with, this whole controversy is over 3 years old. Considering that we are residential 1 and 2, we're just scratching our heads, fellas and ladies. The meeting, the zoning board meeting, the efforts to enlist the sheriff's office and the ATF, the filing of formal grievances, all of that has caused my husband and I and my neighbors and these 24 plus 15 folks in the next neighborhood over, it is causing us to lose confidence in the ordinances that are on the books. It's causing us to lose confidence in the ability for there to be fairness to all citizens. The shooting continues, and I'm going to give you one example. When the EMS gentleman from Salem, Joey Autry, died, I don't know if any of you gentlemen or lady know Joey, but he died. And the service was at Burkemont Baptist Church. I drove by there and saw all those cars. I had a son that graduated with Joey from Freedom. And I knew the graveside service would be very soon, and the shooting had been going on all day. So I go to the house. I politely called the individual that owns the shooting range, and I said very politely, I am da-da-da-da, and I would like to tell you that. And his comments, he cut me off, and this is what he said. This is my business, you stay out of it. And he hangs up. So I call back, and very politely, I know you're angry with me, but the service for Joey Autry is going on right now. And I'm leaving this message because out of respect to the family, I think it would be nice for their gravesite service to be without all that shooting going on. That is an example of one of the huge disruptions that this firing range causes. Now, I'm here, I don't think anybody else signed up to speak, but concealed weapons classes continue there, and they're shooting. The gun club meetings continue, and they're shooting. So, yes, Burke County has sued this individual, and to me, I want to say, so what? It isn't making a bit of difference because the shooting continues. Thank you.
Thank you, Prudy.
That's all the cards I have, Mr.
Is that
Chairman.
all the cards you have? Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, we'll move forward with our consent agenda. At this time, I'll recognize our county manager, Mr. Brian Steen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have, I see, 13 items. BOC proclamation declaring April 10th, 2014 as Youth and Government Day for 2014. Item 2, Clerk, 2013 Annual Report, Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee. Item 3, Clerk, acceptance of CDBG progress report submitted by Western Piedmont Council of Government. Item 4, County Manager, resolution of appreciation to Western Piedmont Community College. Item 5, County Attorney, proposed changes to County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 50, Parks and Recreation. Item 6, Finance, approval of funding allocations through the Home and Community Care Block Grant for fiscal year 2013-14 and the HCCBG agreement for provision of county-based aging services. Item 7, Fire Marshal, approval of the contract for fire protection services for Chesterfield Fire and Rescue Protection Association, Eichard Township Fire Rescue Incorporated, and West End Volunteer Fire Department Incorporated. Item 8, General Services, resolution approving 2012 Local Water Supply Plan. Item 9, General Services, surplus of existing loader and purchase of used loader. Item 10, NC Department of Transportation, resolution regarding petitioner's request for abandonment of state maintenance on right-of-way pursuant to NC Department of Transportation file number 12.0814, State Road 2205, Iron Lane. Item 11, Tax Office, EMS Collections Report, January 2014. Item 12, Tax Office, Release and Refund Report, January 2014. And item 13, Tax Office, Tax Collections Report for January and February 2014. That concludes your consent agenda, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. County Manager. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Everyone's heard the motion by Maynard. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Be 5-0, Madam Clerk. We're moving now to our items for decision. The first one on our agenda tonight is an adoption of ordinance authorizing the repair or closure of the condemned structure. Are we going to get an update on that? Is that up for motion? Okay, located at 1581 US 70 Colony Springs. Brock Hall. Brock?
Knocking stuff over. Without going into too much detail, just an update on where we were from 2 weeks ago. We're still in the same position. The loading dock has been disassembled. Repairs have not been completed. The foreman is continuing to cite weather delays on his end, and I haven't been able to get in touch with him for the past 2 days. He told me it was supposed to be done this past Saturday, which is a week after he told me it was going to be done last time I talked to you. So that's where we stand at this point.
All right, anyone have any questions for Brock? I think we've heard this several times. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I lost my,
Is this just an update, Mr. Chairman, or is this?
No, this is the motion to adopt the ordinance related to the repair. Or
and
the
he's
closure.
supposed to resolve that. Good stuff.
And he did
I'll make
not.
the motion, we approve.
Okay. All of you heard the motion by Maynard to adopt an ordinance number 201402 related to the repair of the closure of the public health nuisance located at 1581 US 70 Colony Springs. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Excuse me. Are we repairing or are we closing?
All right, it's to repair or close. Which one, Maynard, on your motion?
Well, I think from our pre-agenda, there's a timetable. They had promised him to get it fixed. As long as they got it fixed, it would be fine. If not, they could move forward with their proposal. So it's a combination. Is that correct, sir?
We could, you're right, but we have to either close it or repair it. So we have to either vote to close it or
Or
we
vote
can
to
close
repair.
it now, yeah, and then, or the county can put the money forward to do the repairs ourselves.
If we vote to close it, does that prevent them from repairing it?
No. They could repair it, and if they passed building inspections at that point, I assume what I would have to do is come back to the board and have you rescind the resolution that you adopted tonight if you adopt close it.
So at this point, we believe them to be in the process of repairing, not closing?
They are in the process of repairing.
Yeah.
They just haven't got it done yet.
That was my understanding, Scott, from you, that they had a timetable to repair. If they didn't, then our order went into effect. So it's really a split order.
Right, yeah, it's just whichever way you want to go with it. If you want us to pay, go ahead and pay for it, or if you want us to just order it closed.
Well, I don't think it needs to come back before us, Mr. Chairman.
Uh-huh.
So I think the order is that as long as they proceed with repair in the timely manner in which they indicated to him they would, let them repair it. If they don't do that, then our condemnation order goes into order. We'll repair ourselves.
Well, they've had timely opportunities before. So where are we? They still haven't followed their promise.
You said they're repairing now. Is that what you said?
They're in the process, and
Yeah.
they've been in the process for about 2 years now.
That was going to be my next comment. I believe I remember that I said they've been in the process of repairing for over 2 years. That was,
Well, I think, let me rephrase the motion if I may.
okay.
I recommend that we allow this firm, who has employees and pays taxes in Burke County, but strike that from the motion, Madam Clerk. I make the motion, we allow them 90 days to get it fixed. If not, our motion to repair it and send them the bill goes into effect.
Let me understand the motion again. You're going to ask that we give them 90 days to repair, and if they don't repair in 90 days, that we close it. Is that okay with you, Brock?
That's perfectly okay with me, yeah.
Madam Clerk? You look,
Would that require it to come back to adopt an ordinance for the closure
No,
at the end of 90 days?
Mr. Attorney, please help us out a little bit.
I think what Mr. Taylor is saying is that the ordinance would go into effect at a date 90 days in the future, automatically. If they're
if not
finished in 90.
repaired, yeah.
Repair it after, the county will repair it after 90 days from today.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Or close.
That's what I thought we discussed pre-agenda. That's what I thought.
What if we don't want to repair it? If it's already been torn down, right?
It's disassembled, yes, sir.
So can we consider it closed or the ordinance to be closed after that 90 days? And then they would have to come forward with a whole permitted process to build such a thing?
One thing, and the attorney may comment on this too, if the county, let's say the county, we adopt the ordinance to just close it and we order it closed, and until such time that they can get it to pass inspections. If they get it to pass inspections, and we had to rescind that order later, I would assume, and the clerk may comment on this as well, if that may be a consent item to rescind the resolution, and that way it wouldn't be as drawn out a process. If we had to look at it again.
I mean, if I understand its current condition, it's basically closed so far as any use. I mean, it
It's
can't be used.
essentially non-existent right now because it's in pieces on the ground.
I'm just trying to avoid, Mr. Chairman, us having to pay for something we don't need to pay for in terms of repair.
I am too.
And we shouldn't pay for it.
Because we may never get the money, for that. So why don't we just,
Maynard, could I ask you to withdraw your motion right now for the discussion?
Let me make a comment first. Yes,
Okay.
you may.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, now let's discuss a little bit.
I'm trying to do two things. Jeff made the motion that why do we want to spend our money, and we really don't want to. But the second biggest thing is that is a huge operation on one side, and I don't know how many people they're employed. Do you know?
I had not right off.
Why do
I
we
know.
want to close somebody down in Burke County that's giving our citizens jobs?
Well, we're not technically closing down the operation. We're just closing down that loading dock.
I understand.
Right, okay.
But wouldn't we be better to be friends with our businesses other than enemies if we could possibly do that? I mean, and that was my point, is If they're willing to fix it, let them fix it, and we both come out a winner.
I'm also concerned with employee safety on a structure that hasn't been,
Pardon?
I'm also concerned with employee safety on a structure that hasn't been properly inspected.
I agree. I would agree with that.
That would seem to me if it was unsafe, you would have the authority to close it down on the spot.
And it's been declared unsafe. And that's why we're at this process now. So we need to.
And how long has this been going on, Dr. Brock?
Since April of 2012.
2012. If someone can't get their act in order in that length of time, I think it should end tonight. That's my thoughts on it. I mean, why bother with them? They're not going to do it anyway if we keep, playing on and let them go, whatever. So a decision should be tonight. My suggestion is close it down. That's it. Wait till it's over with.
Jeff, do you have any more comments?
I would suggest a motion to give them, I think 90 days is probably too long. The weather, I mean, who knows the weather? Let's give them 30 days to complete the process, and then I move with closure for the structure 1581 US 70 Conley Springs if it's not repaired in the next 30 days.
You kind of caught me by surprise making the motion. It's okay.
Mr. Chairman, Scott, can that be fixed and reasonable within 30 days?
From what the foreman's telling me, it can, but he hasn't done it yet.
Say again?
I think it can be, yes, sir. I think it can be done in 30 days.
That would be encouragement for them to move, too.
Okay, we have the motion on the floor. Madam Clerk, do you have it? Can you repeat it back to me, please?
To give them 30 days, move to closure.
Okay, motion's on the floor by Jeff. Any further discussion? All in favor of Jeff's motion signify by raising your right hands. All opposed? That'd be 4-1, Madam Clerk.
And can I clarify, that ordinance goes into effect after 30 days? Is that?
That's correct.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to item number 2, General Services. Consideration of the contract extension with Republic Services of North Carolina for waste transportation and disposal. Carson Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Carswell, members of the board. Our current contract with Republic Services expired on the 16th of this month. The contract covers both transportation and disposal of our municipal solid waste that is taken to the Burke County Transfer Station and transferred by a subcontractor to Foothills Landfill, which Republic Services operates. There's been some discussion recently about an extension to that contract. And Madam Clerk, the most recent extension, does the board have a copy of that? Okay, I think it came in yesterday. And that extension, if I may read part of the section, talks about Section 2.1 shall be amended to read as follows. The term of the amended agreement shall be extended for a period beginning March 18th, 2014, which is today, and ending June 30th, 2014, with the option to extend for an additional 5-year term by mutual consent of the parties. Item number 2, the current rate shall remain unchanged during the term of this extension. And then item number 3, all other terms and conditions of the original agreement dated May 6, 1997, and as amended March 18, 1999, and March 16, 2004, not specifically amended herein, are reaffirmed and ratified. If it's my understanding, I think that Republic Services would like for that to be considered by the board. That does give us a little bit more than 90 days. It takes us to the end of the fiscal year that we're currently in, and they have offered to make that extension with no additional increases and with an option to be able to, I guess, renew that contract with other terms and conditions after that. The board has asked me to look into other situations, whether there's other interested parties. I have not completed that investigation at this point, but I can tell you that there has been interest among other entities in entertaining some options that we could take a look at, which I will continue to look at during this period. Let me say, too, that Bill Shrum and Sean Brady with Republic Services are here in the audience tonight. If the board members have any questions for them about this extension or any of the services that they provide, I'm sure that they will be glad to answer those questions.
Okay, you've heard from Carson and his report, gentlemen. Any discussion or questions for Carson or any of those present tonight?
Mr. Chairman, not a question, just a comment to give a comparison. 1977, you know what that rate was, Carson?
I don't think I can tell you. I did not look back that far.
$24.50.
Right.
So it's almost doubled.
Well, and I can tell you, when I graduated in '77 from state, my bill for that year was probably less than $5,000, probably less than $3,000. My daughter that graduated from UNC Greensboro a few years back, I paid at least $10,000, so it's more than double.
Cash is not cheap.
Mr. Chairman, I just comment, I would extend appreciation to the folks here from Republic for offering this time for us to do due diligence on this matter.
Anyone else? All right, Madam Clerk, let me see if I'm correct in what my abstract is saying, that we take this tonight with no action as an informal report or request extension to the present contract for 90 days and or a recommendation that the board consider other options for a contract. Is that correct?
Yes, we also have some suggested motions for you on page 205.
Page 2.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we accept this, suppose that would be the third modification amendment to environmental service agreement with Public Service of North Carolina for waste for a period not to exceed 90 days from this date. In other words, to accept the agreement that is before us at this time.
It will extend beyond 90 days to be able to get it to the end of the calendar year. It won't be by much, but will be just a little bit.
June 30th?
June 30th.
Yes, sir, to June 30th, to clear the end of the fiscal year.
All right. All right, everyone's heard the motion by Jeff. All in favor of Jeff's motion, please raise your right hand. Madam Clerk, that'd be 5-0.
Thank you.
Carson. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to our next item will be from the tax office for deed certification. Danny?
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for letting me be here. What I'm requesting this evening is that you adopt the resolution that's attached. What this does for us, North Carolina General Statute 16131 authorizes certain counties to adopt a resolution that prohibits recordation of deeds with delinquent taxes. This resolution will be a tool in our collection belt, if you want to call it that, our collection toolbox. And what it will do, it'll prohibit anybody from recording a deed at the Register of Deeds that has delinquent taxes, with the exception of if there is a statement on that deed. And the statement says, this instrument is prepared by a licensed attorney, a licensed North Carolina attorney. Delinquent taxes, if any, will be paid by the closing attorney to the county tax collector upon distribution of closing proceeds. And In case of, say, like an estate or something like that, that would be an important statement in there. Other than that, what we have worked out is we'll have a sticker that will go on the top of the deed. That'll, somebody from the tax office, we've got 3 designated people, will review that deed and the deed request from the attorney asking for authorization to record the deed. That sticker will be adhere on the deed, and then that way the Register of Deeds will know that they can record that deed. Other than that, like I say, the statement at the bottom on the deed would have to be on there. How this will affect us is a lot to what the speakers talked about earlier this evening. If somebody has delinquent taxes, then before that deed can be recorded, those taxes will have to be paid. If they have current year taxes, it does not affect that. So let's take an example of 2013 taxes, and somebody comes in, they hadn't paid their taxes yet, but they want to record that deed in December. They're not delinquent, so they can accept that deed recorded on. It'll still have that sticker on there. They come in January the 15th and haven't paid those taxes, the Register of Deed will not record that deed. So it gives a person 6 months there that they can pay, record a deed without any issues. We are going to, as far as the tax office, we will send a letter out to the attorneys. Letter will sort of the process. Most of them are already familiar. We're not the first county in this area to do this. Several other counties are ahead of us. It'll also have a request form in there so that the attorney can fill out that request form. He can email it, he can fax it to the tax office so that we can do the research ahead of time. If somebody comes in with a single deed, then given 15, 20 minutes, we can research it and take care of that authorization. Sort of how it'll work, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, gentlemen, any questions for Danny on this process? Thank you for your hard work on that, Danny. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 2014-08, Mr. Chairman.
Everybody's heard the motion by Jeff. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you so much. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, approval of the audit contract for fiscal year 2014, presented by Paul Imes, Finance Director. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, the item before you tonight is one of the board's annual responsibilities. General statute, I think it's 15934, requires the county to have its records and accounts audited each year by an independent certified public accountant. The past few years, we've used the audit firm of Loudermilk Church and Company to perform that examination for us. They have submitted a proposal to do the audit for fiscal year 13-14 at a cost of $36,800, which is a $600 increase from last year's contract, and that is basically a 1.6 CPI increase. So before you, for your consideration, is the contract for Loudermilk Church for $36,800.
Thank you, Paul. Gentlemen, any questions for Paul? If not, what's the pleasure?
Motion to award the contract for the 2014 annual audit to Loudermilk Church and Company LLP for $38,800.
$36,800. Everybody's heard the motion by Wayne. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. That would be 5-0, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Those cheaters.
We're down to our reports and comments section. I'm going to go backwards now. I'm going to start with Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk.
None for me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Jack.
Thank you. None.
Jeff.
No, sir.
Maynard.
Yes. Madam Clerk, wasn't this ratified into, I have the draft section yet? It's the rules, new rules we put into effect January a year ago. Gentlemen, I'd like to read the rules. and formal public comment. Each speaker shall complete a speaker card and submit it to the clerk before the meeting convenes. Each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes. Granting additional time to a speaker will require a unanimous vote. Time may not be transferred to another speaker. And I'd love to have 5 minutes on this subject, but in just kind of a nutshell, I am going to ask that this be included in the minutes. But those rules are there for our own protection. And when you have an individual or a subject matter that you want to have more time, folks, that's a bunch of bunk. It is unprofessional. It degrades your ethical standards. And I'm just going to ask you, folks, we don't do this. I'm sorry. We set these rules. They have been tested, tried, and proven over decades for businesses such as this one and city meetings. So, and I wasn't sure I didn't want to do it earlier, but we just need to stick to our rules. The other thing I wanted to say, Mr. Chairman, we need a big salute for Freedom basketball team winning the state championship.
Sure do.
Got my thunder. Thank you so much. Okay. Wayne?
I guess I'll disagree with my colleague, Mr. Taylor, on that. But however, I think, Johnny, you mentioned and the minister mentioned the tragedy, and, that's all over the state, what happened here in Burke County. And I guess our heart and prayers just go out with those families. But there hasn't been much mention about the Wisnett family, who's, I think they were buried the same day, yesterday also. And I guess they had a lot of friends well-known in Burke County, and I guess our prayers should go out with that family also. It was just a really tragedy. We got so many positive things going on in Burke County, and now we're going to have to live with this tragedy. Again, going back to years ago, they called it Bloody Burke. So,
Thank you, Wayne. Mr. Manager?
No, sir.
JR?
I just wanted to commend our rescue workers. If you recall, we had a climber fall in the gorge and was injured. Was covered by all the TV stations, and our Burke County folks, with the assistance of a Black Hawk helicopter from Salisbury and some rescue folks from Mecklenburg County, did a great job in rescuing a young man who had become injured, and we need to commend those folks for that. That's tough work, and they train for it. They go through special training, and good bunch of people.
Thank you so very much. Well, y'all did well, because you was going to talk about everything I was going to talk about. But I want to say one more thing. Tonight, I want to commend this board for the work that each of you do. I certainly do appreciate the fact that we can work together. Obviously, we don't agree together all the time, but we take what's before us and we do what we've been elected to do, and I do appreciate every one of you for that. We do need closed session tonight, so I accept a motion to go into closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege, discuss threatened or pending litigation, discuss economic development matters, and discuss personnel matters as authorized by North Carolina General Statute 143-13-11, A3, 4, and 6. Motion to go into closed?
Chairman?
Mr.
We've got a few things from the.
I'm so sorry, I do that every time. Let's do the vacancy announcements right quick before we go into closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have the following vacancies on county boards and committees: the Hickory Regional Planning Commission, Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee, the Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, the Council on Aging, Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, the Burke County Planning Board, Library Board of Trustees, Morganton Board of Adjustment for the ETJ, and Partners Behavioral Health Management. Be happy to speak with anyone about filling those positions.
Thank you, Kay, and I'm the one that fusses all the time about these vacancies, and I go right over top of them. Who made my motion to go to closed session?
I did.
Maynard made the motion to go to closed session. We'll take about a 5-minute break if that's okay with everybody before we start.
We'll have to accept those chickens.
You got mine yet?
Mr. Abel made a motion to come out of closed session. The vote was 5-0. No decisions were made. I will now declare a recess until Monday, March the 24th, 2014, at 2 p.m.